In this case, I would like to, bring out what Swami Vivekananda had discussed in a similar but different context. Okay, and I quote from Swami Vivekananda when he's discussing the role of the Buddha in India's history and especially its spiritual and religious history. I quote from Swami Vivekananda: when Buddha was teaching, Sanskrit was no more the spoken language in India. It was then only the books of the learned. Some of Buddha's Brahmin disciples wanted to translate his teachings into Sanskrit, but he distinctly told them, I am for the poor, for the people. Let me speak in the tongue of the people. And so, to this day, the great bulk of his teachings are in the vernacular of that day in India. Unquote. So Swami Vivekananda reads in this decision of the Buddha a great and divine compassion for the suffering masses, the ignorant masses of the world. And the Swami adds, and I quote again, this is from Swami Vivekananda: Shakyamuni, that is Buddha, himself was a monk. And it was his glory that he had the large-heartedness to bring out the truths from the hidden Vedas and throw them open and throw them broadcast all over the world. The great glory of the master, that is the Buddha, lay in his wonderful sympathy for everybody, especially for the ignorant and the poor, unquote. So Swami Vivekananda uttered these words in 1893 before a gathering of the learned men and women in Chicago, in the USA. 77 years after the publication of the first Upanishad translated into Bangla by the Raja. And Raja had also brought out the commentaries of these Upanishads in Bangla, in the same language. Rabindranath Tagore wrote in his essay, which was titled Raja Ram Mohan Rai, that until the Raja's Bengali translations of the Upanishads, there was hardly any Bengali prose. Therefore, the Raja gave us a workable and formal style of writing in Bengali prose, which was both simple and understandable, as well as elegant in its diction. So the Raja was proved right in his actions of bringing out these books into Bengali as well as English, when soon after his death in 1833, the Bengali prose became a very fine vehicle of propagation of cultural as well as scientific knowledge through the efforts of mainly people like Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Bhudev Mukhopadhyay, Debendranath Tagore, Mahorshi Debendranath Tagore, Michael Madhusudan Datta, and Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, as well as later on by Rabindranath Tagore and Acharya J.C. Bose, the famous scientist, as well as Sukumar Rai and others who wrote prolifically on scientific subjects and historical subjects, as well as cultural subjects in the Bengali language, thus proliferating knowledge of culture, history, and science among the masses. Swami Vivekananda's comments on the Raja become also available to us through Nivedita's writing. Nivedita, as you all know, was this famous Irish female disciple of Swami Vivekananda. In the month of May in 1898, Swami Vivekananda gave a long talk on Raja Ram Mohan Rai in Nainital while traveling in the Himalayas with his Indian and foreign disciples. And from this talk, Nivedita reports, it was here too that we heard a long talk on Ram Mohan Rai, in which he, that is Swami Vivekananda, pointed out three things as the dominant notes of his teachers, of this teacher's message, of Ram Mohan Rai's message. His acceptance of the Vedanta, his preaching of patriotism, and the love that embraced the followers of all religions equally. In all these things, he claimed himself, that is the Swami Vivekananda, claimed himself to have taken up the task that the breadth and foresight of Ram Mohan Rai had mapped out. This is from Notes of Some Wanderings with the Swami Vivekananda, by Nivedita, published by Udbodhan Office in 1930. In conclusion, I would like to point out that the Raja himself had some hopes that his work will perhaps be acknowledged with some gratitude by posterity, because in his time he was heavily censured and heavily criticized, often with ad hominem attacks by his contemporary scholars. And in order to understand why he undertook such an endeavor to bring out translations of the Upanishads and various other Vedantic texts, we have to understand that the Raja was grappled with the problem of finding the basis of universal religion. He wanted to work towards constructing a religion which will be universally acceptable by all of humanity, not just the people from one particular culture or nation, but of all throughout the world. And in order to understand that, we have to also see what he has mentioned in this particular book that I mentioned earlier, 1821. It was published in 1821 and was called Brahman Shebodhi. It was a polemical rebuttal to a Christian priest from Serampur by Raja Ram Mohan Rai. The Christian priest had attacked various aspects of Hinduism, and the Raja was giving a rebuttal. And to understand the ideas and ideals that prompted the Raja to popularize Vedantic thought, Vedantic literature through his translations, one has to consider his conception of a Brahman, okay, by referring to what he has written in another book also, Vajra Shuchi, which was brought out in 1827 and is ascribed to Mrityunjaya Acharya. He has translated, the Raja has translated this. And there he says, and I translate from the original Bangla of the Raja, as sure as the gooseberry held in the palm of one's hand is, likewise, who is certain of the eternal existence of the Supreme Being, and thus satisfying his doubts, becomes content and restrained in his sense organs, one who has the qualities of mercifulness, simplicity, empathy, truthfulness, contentment, etc., and one who vanquishes jealousy, conceit, illusion, etc., is verily the one who is worthy of the name of Brahmana. Brahmanishtho Bekti Kebol Brahman Onno Nohe Iha Nishchay Hoilo was his conclusion. And let me also quote from what he has left as his hope. And I quote from the Raja's writings: perhaps a day will arrive when my humble endeavors will be viewed with justice, perhaps acknowledged with gratitude even. At any rate, however men may say, I cannot be deprived of this consolation. My motives are acceptable to that being who beholds in secret and compensates openly. This is from the Raja's introduction to translation of an abridgment of the Vedanta.